Just because you don't believe someone doesn't make them a liar. Even if a person makes tons of claims and never verifies them, you have no obligation to believe them. Hell, most human relationships hinge on that. Think of every story a friend told you that you couldn't directly prove. There's someone that doesn't believe that story. Even the simple ones. Just because someone starts lacking empathy for someone doesn't make them a psychopath. Lots of normal people lack empathy all the time for other totally normal people. The difference is a psychopath has no remorse and lacks 100% of their empathy for everyone, or very nearly everyone. There are deviants in all things, and some psychopaths have empathy for close friends and family. This story involves myself and a local business. I'm not going to give too much background information on myself, but it is important to note that I have lived in other countries thanks to having been in the U.S. Army. And I used to box. Me and this local business, LB, have a contract with each other. The exact details aren't important. Similar to any contract, the business tries to get it written in their favor. After a few months of doing everything with the contract that I was supposed to do, the business starts getting nervous. They aren't going to be able to follow through on their portion of the contract, and that starts becoming very clear. They haven't for a few weeks now. More or less, it means I don't have to pay them. I'm writing this after the story is finished, but it will clarify a bit. Our agreement is a barter-like deal. No cash is involved directly unless one party falls through. It's written in their favor. Also, it's all legal. It reads, due to my vagueness, a bit like a drug deal, but it isn't. Unfortunately, I have to be a bit vague about what the contract is for exactly. Maybe in future, when I'm not contractually obligated, I can rewrite this story after it unfolds fully. They begin doing a ton of shady shit, setting up dates, then at the last second pushing them back or pulling them forward and lying about what they were supposed to do. At one point, they tried to even alter the contract, which isn't in the terms, and got incredibly upset when I called them out on it. Eventually, I have to exploit an option in the contract because there is both a death in my family and my wife's family in the same week. The option doesn't do much of anything, and I inform them of what happens. They agree that it's fine, of which I have a recording, and that skipping on my end of the contract for a week or two will be okay. So a few weeks pass, I show back up. In their mind, this is their coup d'etat. Well, my wife is with me, mostly because, well, 2 deaths. The entire time the face of the business, a woman who works as their secretary, more or less, keeps trying to pull me away from my wife. I refuse. LB, we need to speak privately. Me, I don't see why we would need to do that. LB, wouldn't it upset you to talk about this publicly? Me, no. LB, frustrated. I feel like we need to speak privately. Me, I think we don't. After about 15 minutes of that going on back and forth with customers in the front of their business, it's clear they only want me to agree for reasons at that point that were beyond me. So after some deliberation, me and my wife get up and follow them into their back room. At which point they start telling me, your wife can wait up front. I reply bluntly, no, she can't. As soon as the doors close, the woman becomes an absolute cunt. Veiled threats, insults, and the like. I'm a bit shocked, I reply, excuse me? As all this just came pouring out of her mouth. After she names a bunch of random dates and times that I missed, I pull out my copies of all our emails and her calendar and how it changed over time. She looks like I shit directly into her mouth. More or less, it's direct proof their business hasn't been following through on their end. A few moments pass and she tells me she needs me to update some of the information we have to exchange. I update it to the letter of the contract. You can see this really annoys her. I'm not giving her what she wants, which is a way out of the contract with me still having to pay. After she starts saying things like, we need to know more, I bluntly reply, no you don't. She attempts a, we can help you. I look at her, what happened to those threats a moment ago? Seriously, what's your problem? Helping me would be upholding your end and delivery of goods, not this run-around bullshit. At this point, her and another person who works for the business, has the CEO, begins questioning everything about the It went something like this, LB, who I replied, a cousin, I wasn't close but my grandmother was, I had to be there for her. LB, what's his name? Me, good question, I wasn't close to him and was just there to console my grandmother. LB, so you don't know a first cousin's name? Me, looking at the CEO. I think when we met it was over a conversation about how I'm not all that close to my family. Grandmother and sister aside. LB, when was the funeral? Me, didn't attend it. How is any of this your business again? I don't feel comfortable discussing it. At this point, they begin asking my wife about her family's. She just cuts them off and says, "Look, this isn't any of your business. My husband is being polite and entertaining you incompetent fuck. I suggest you get down to business and leave me out of this. Seriously, go yourself." It was a bit longer and less articulate than that, but more or less it's what she said to them. I've never honestly seen my wife act like this, but really does get to her. It might sound strange to some people, but I only met my cousin twice in my life. Most of my life, he actively tried to keep me out of his because he didn't like my father. When he found out I stopped speaking to my father, he suddenly wanted to get to know me to use me as a beating stick against my real dad. I'm not a massive piece of shit who thinks that it would be acceptable to let that happen, regardless of what's between myself and my dad. I don't care for the guy, but my grandmother grew up with him before he started acting this way, and he treated her good, which is all that mattered in that case. In my wife's case, she was in tears since she heard of her great-grandfather's. She wasn't having any shit about it. So at this point in the conversation, I look up and say, "How is any of this relevant? I informed you of these things before. All I want is for you to deliver on your end." LB, mumbling, "Oh, we think it's relevant." Me, "Excuse me?" LB, "Well, everything you have said so far is a lie." Me, "Is this relevant to our contract?" LB, "Yes, because for the past week you haven't delivered on your end. We need product." Me, "True, and I called and informed you of that. You said it was fine." LB, "Can you prove that?" Me, "Of course, you f***ing idiot." At this point, I stood up and pounded my fist on the table, sat back down and pulled out my iPad that had a recording of our conversation with video over the phone. LB, sounding defeated, "Okay, well, we are going to need you to sign this to get payment from you." Me, "Not going to happen. I'm going to need you to do the same, unfortunately." LB, "And why would we do that? We have a contract with you." Me, "Get over it. You are failing on your end. Hell, I came here to deliver on some of this, and this is how you are going to treat me. Look, man, you can f*** off. Either you give me everything you are supposed to now, or I'm not paying or delivering anything else to you." I actually rant for about 15 minutes with them constantly trying to interject over me about how I've been treated by them. He begins blowing up after my rant, screaming, throwing things, breaking shit. I was stunned. This totally normal guy is freaking out. At some point, he brings up my military service and says, "It would be a shame if people found out you were lying about that." I burst out into laughter. Actual laughter, and replied with, "Dude, all my military friends are on my Facebook page. It only exists for me to keep in touch with them. You can't be serious. More than that, there are fucking photos of me deployed on it." This isn't the only thing he accuses me of lying of. In fact, everything on my Facebook page. I'm a pathological liar, and all the photos on my Facebook page prove it. They prove that I didn't do the stuff in the photos somehow, most of which I've never even talked with him about. Apparently, I'm lying about shooting guns at a range at some nondescript time in the past, despite that being a photo from like 4 years ago. Even things I haven't spoken with him about. So at some point, I inform him that I've been recording everything going on in this meeting, and he tries to wrestle the device away from me. I guess he found out that I wasn't lying when I said I used to box. As soon as his secretary, who started recording the fight, realized I was winning, and I suppose she overlooked how my wife had her phone out recording them the entire time. She ran out of the room as if I'm some sort of threat to her. Even if he got the device in my hand, he wouldn't have gotten the one in my backpack, the one in my wife's purse, the one in my pocket, or the one using their Wi-Fi to transfer the entire conversation to my computer at home. This is where he's clearly in a last-ditch effort to get at me. I don't know. We are walking out. He follows behind me screaming, "You are just a psychopath." I turn and look at him. I believe that's called slander in court. Should I play this recording? The guy just starts screaming, "Get the out, deals off, get the out, your grandmother didn't die." Correct? And we walk out. Apparently self-defense and being on time for things prove I'm a psychopath. Oh, that, and refusing to uphold my end of a deal when they aren't upholding theirs. Honestly, some stricter rules need to be put in place around business acting this way after seeing this. I say that because I had never heard of them. Apparently, this is the case with half of their clients at some point. Problem is, they didn't sue. I will.